Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is June 8th of 2026. It's a Monday, and we'll start with the weather as we always do across the Cape and Islands today. Breezy in the morning, partly sunny and cooler in the afternoon with only a high of 64 today. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 51 in the overnight. Tomorrow, Tuesday, pleasant with sun and some clouds expected, a high of 75, a low of 59. On Wednesday, a high of 77, a low of 61, partly sunny and nice, breezy in the afternoon. On Thursday, nice with intervals of clouds and sunshine expected, high of 76, low of 63. And on Friday, it warms up a little bit, might even touch 80, mostly cloudy with a low of 60. The sun will rise at 5:07 a.m. today. It'll set at 8:14 p.m. We'll have 15 hours and 7 minutes of daylight. Heading to the front of the paper, where they used to keep the lottery results, they don't keep those there anymore because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early to give you those results. But we read them because, well, somebody asked for them. And if you would like something read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can call us at 508-539-2030, or you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org, and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information that we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org. It's a fully disability-compliant website. Click on the Listen tab, All Reads to the Blind. Click on that, and we have 150 readings with the most recent at the top, so you can catch up on anything that you might have missed. We also keep a wide variety of periodicals and literature up there for your listening enjoyment. They stay up there in perpetuity. And we do our radio plays under the Ledger Actors Workshop, and you can hear all sorts of great suspense and comedy and drama there. All of this is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. For the latest results, since the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early, we go to masslottery.com. And for the numbers game of Sunday, June 7th, in the midday, the winning numbers were 2, 3, 9, 6. Again, yesterday's midday winning numbers, 2, 3, 9, 6. In the evening last night of the numbers game drawing, the results were 3, 8, 1, 8. Again, last night's evening winning numbers, 3, 8, 1, 8. For Mass Cash, which was drawn in the midday on Sunday, June 7th, the midday winning numbers were 8, 21, 26, 27, 28. Again, the midday winning numbers yesterday for Mass Cash, 8, 21, 26, 27, 28. In the evening, the winning numbers for Mass Cash, 2, 6, 8, 21, and 29. Again, last night's evening winning numbers for Mass Cash, 2, 6, 8, 21, and 29. And the winning number for Mega Millions, which was drawn on Friday, June 5th, 13, 30, 50, 52, and 66, with 2, the bonus number. Again, Mega Millions for Friday, 13, 30, 50, 52, and 66, with 2, the bonus number. Good luck to all who play. Remember us if you win. From the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, commuter rail plan moves forward is the headline. By Susan Vaughn. A bipartisan group of state legislators and other Cape Cod officials are starting initial talks about expanding commuter rail service for the first time between Boston and Buzzards Bay. We're asking for a train that will meet up with South Coast Rail to give 300,000 Cape and Island residents access, said State Senator Dylan Fernandez, Democrat from Falmouth, who's leading the push. It's one of the few places in the state that have only one travel option. It opens up other travel options for residents and millions of visitors. The South Coast Rail commuter rail service of the MBTA began in March of 2025. It extends to Taunton, New Bedford, and Fall River on the Fall River-New Bedford line. It was the first time in 65 years that cities and towns in southeastern Massachusetts got passenger rail service. South Coast Rail had to open first. This is the next step, Fernandez said of the current effort. Joining Fernandez at a May 27th press conference were state representatives Kip Diggs, a Democrat from Barnstable, and Stephen Zarhos, a Republican from Barnstable. John Kennedy and Kathleen Jensen, administrators of the Cape Regional Transit Authority, and Bourne Select Board member Peter Mayer. The officials stressed the growing need for reliable passenger rail service to the Cape and the importance of state action to advance planning, funding, and legislative solutions for expanded service. At present, the only rail option is the Cape Flyer, which runs only on weekends in the summer from Boston. The Cape hasn't had year-round rail service since 1959, Fernandez said. That's an important environmental benefit to consider, Fernandez said. We're hopeful anything we can do to keep cars off the road, he said. Fernandez said commuter rail speed tracks are already laid from the Cape to Boston, which is the most expensive part of the proposal. South Coast Rail goes through the Middleborough station and hooks up with the Cape main lines to Buzzards Bay. Equally vocal on the idea is Bourne's mayor. Mayor said he's been a strong proponent of a commuter rail service to Buzzards Bay since he was elected. A town meeting approved the town being part of the MBTA system and pays a minimal annual fee, he said. The town has embraced the MBTA, Mayor said in a phone interview on June 3rd. It's time for it to come to Bourne. Mayor said having the commuter station would not only get cars off the road, but could create growth with new housing and jobs in Bourne, and it would benefit the entire region. Buzzards Bay's downtown area has the zoning needed, he said. A train station would require additional parking and signs and a waiver on an expanded platform, he said. It would also be timely with the pending construction of new Cape bridges, Mayor said of the expanded rail. A Cape Rail study by the State Department of Transportation, completed in June of 2021 with support from the Cape Cod Commission, concluded with two alternatives for weekday rail service. One that would go to Buzzards Bay was for commuters alone. The other that would cross the Cape Cod Canal to Bourne was for recreational travelers as well. The first option would go from Boston's South Station to Middleborough in 57 minutes with a transfer to Wareham and Buzzards Bay. The total trip to Buzzards Bay would be 92 minutes. The second option would not be feasible now, as it would require crossing the canal on the railroad bridge, which the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has denied except for the Cape Flyer. The rail study's projected daily boardings for the Buzzards Bay to Boston route was estimated at 1,710, and that would reduce vehicle trips by 800. The projected capital cost for that service expansion was $79 million in 2021 dollars, $5 million yearly. Under the current proposal, Fernandez said rail travelers could get picked up at Buzzards Bay by the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority buses to go on to Hyannis. The Steamship Authority buses already go all over the Upper Cape and could connect with the rail station in Buzzards Bay, he said. Still, Fernandez is optimistic about getting commuter rail service. It's a lot easier than you might think, he said. She Was Brilliant is the title of our next column in the Cape Cod Times cover, and it's the Cape Cod Times of June 8th, a Monday. Anne Levine of Dennis used radio to spotlight Ukraine war heroes, by Denise Coffey. Tethered to an oxygen tank and with only a microphone and unyielding resolve, Dennis resident Anne Hall Levine brought the stories of Ukrainian resistance to life via her radio show Ukraine 242. Beginning in March of 2022, Levine has hosted weekly shows that kept a spotlight on Russia's unprovoked aggression and hailed the heroics of ordinary Ukrainian citizens. Levine persisted in her mission despite the ongoing war and differences in time and language. She made calls. She found interpreters. She secured interviews with military, government, and academic officials, as well as soldiers and doctors on the front lines. She caught the attention of another broadcaster, Ursula Rudenberg, manager of the Pacifica affiliate network. Rudenberg said she was so impressed with the quality of interviews that she offered to edit the program and provide it free to 200 member stations and Pacifica's 86 million listeners. Levine's disease progressed to the point where she couldn't continue, but Rudenberg stepped in. Levine died April 28th after a long battle with LAM, a rare progressive lung disease. She was 66 years old. Rudenberg said she plans to visit a Ukrainian hospital in July to do a story and paint a mural about its comprehensive rehabilitation program for those injured in the war. Levine's show and her contacts made that possible. I feel like I'm doing it in her house, Rudenberg said in a May 4th interview. This was a real gift to me. The daughter of fashion designer Larry Levine and his wife Emily, Anne lived a relatively privileged life. She attended Buckley Country Day School, Choate Rosemary Hall, and Sarah Lawrence College. She was a cabaret performer, a fashion designer, a poet, and a radio broadcaster. And while she knew famous and powerful people, she had a soft spot for those on the margins, according to her longtime friend, author and journalist Sam Howe Verhoeven. Anne had a real passion for the underdog, Verhoeven said in a May 4th interview. She used to have a sense of empathy for outsiders, for those not treated fairly. It's one reason why her radio show Ukraine 242 made perfect sense, he added. When Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022, Levine decided to do something about it. The Dennis resident and DJ began the radio show Ukraine 242 after tracking down the producers of Kraina FM, who had gone into hiding after their radio tower was bombed. The station, known for playing popular music, very quickly rebranded itself as the Radio of National Resistance. New Hampshire-based photographer Patrick Patterson met Anne in January of 2023 and collaborated with her on 2 shows. He spent 14 months documenting the war in Ukraine and sharing photos with Levine, whom he credited with making intimate connections with people on the ground there. It was important because it was a narrative you didn't hear in mainstream news, he said. They were connections to people who were experiencing war crimes, occupation, and great loss, he said in a May 4th interview. Levine's radio show has helped raise money for hospitals and orphanages, for items as basic as socks to binoculars and laptops. She even went so far as to arrange a consultation with an eye specialist for a soldier who was blinded during fighting in Mariupol. She contacted the hospital, organized the consultation, assisted with communications throughout the process, and helped with documents, according to Stanislav Onyshuk, the founder and director of the first volunteer surgical hospital in Ukraine. Onyshuk called her actions a clear sign of her character in a May 9th WhatsApp call. She didn't have to do that. She was a person with a truly kind heart. She was brilliant, she really was, her husband, Michael Hill Levine, said during a May 1st interview, adding that she was funny and always on the lookout to help. Everything I know and everything I've heard about her was pointed toward helping somebody, he said. Hill Levine worked with his wife on Ukraine 242 as well as The Anne Levine Show, a pop culture stream of consciousness radio show that ran for 19 years. The couple recorded the program at WOMR in Provincetown until Anne's condition made it too difficult to travel. They continued to record the show from their home studio until a week before her death. He'll continue to produce The Anne Levine Show as a podcast. A memorial service will be held at a later date, according to Hill Levine. Details weren't available at the time of publication. And with a story that will make many Trader Joe's devotees sad, the headline reads, Mashpee Trader Joe's failed to get enough votes to move forward, by Denise Coffey. After months of discussion, the proposal for a Trader Joe's in Mashpee just hit a major roadblock. Developer Mark Bogosian and his plans to build a 13,229 square foot Trader Joe's on Shellback Way in Mashpee did not receive the supermajority approval it needed on June 3rd. Planning Board member Michael Milbury and Vice Chairwoman Karen Faulkner voted yes on a motion to deny the project. The other 3 Board members, Chairwoman Mary Wagan, Dennis Balzerini, and Rob Hansen, wanted the project and voted against denying it. The project needed 4 members to approve the project before it could move forward. Boghossian has been trying to convince the town to approve the project for months. Issues raised by the public in 1 week's-long public hearing included traffic concerns, the adequacy of parking spaces, trash pickup, bus stop locations, pedestrian and bicycle crossings, noise and light pollution for nearby residents, erosion and water pollution. Millbury and Faulkner will review the final decision with town planner Brian Tobin and town council. Wagan will need to sign the decision after its review and file it with the town clerk. The applicant will be able to appeal the decision, according to Wagan. For Faulkner, it was the expected negative impact on public safety and traffic flow that sealed her vocal decision against the project. She said the store would bring additional traffic and public safety concerns. That would be a detriment not only to the immediate area but to the town as a whole. She said Trader Joe's is known to have high sales and customer turnovers, and that it would result in chaos in the parking lot. That chaos would spill over onto Shellback Way and Route 28 by closing intersections, lengthening queues, and causing backups. Millbury said he thought the traffic data provided by the applicant underestimated the counts. He placed some blame on the Cape Cod Commission for a conditional approval they gave to the project before the planning board took it up. In this regard, the commission has been remiss, he said. Their failure to consult the town on this project and insist on mitigation funds is nonsensical. He said their approval did not reflect the concerns of local residents. Millbury said it was the job of the planning board to stop, examine the project, look at the objective criteria, and then make a decision. He said there was no doubt that traffic would be a problem, listing the entrances and exits on Shellback Way. This is the heartbeat of Mashpee, he said. Wagan said it was the first time she could remember the board had such a split vote. The other story in the Cape and Islands section, Mashpee one-room schoolhouse is the crown jewel of Community Park. The modern American protest movement has its roots in a centuries-old tradition of civil disobedience. Perhaps no better example than the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe's 1833 conflict with Massachusetts government and white settlers over sovereignty and natural resources. Historical Commission member Pedro Guarasio offers a glimpse of that early Bay State struggle as part of the Mashpee Historical Commission's guided history tour of the community park. The first tour of the summer was held June 1st. Additional tours will be held at 11 a.m. on the first Monday of every month through August. During his tour, Guarasio described what he called the rich history of the Wampanoag tribe and spoke at length about Blind Joe Amos, one of the first Wampanoag preachers to serve the area, and Pico tribe descendant William Apess, who ministered the tribe members. Guarasio talked to the tour group about the Woodland Revolt of the 1830s. Tribal members at that time were tired of colonizers and white settlers taking resources like game, wood, and fish from Wampanoag-designated lands. They assembled a Declaration of Independence, telling Massachusetts government officials that the Wampanoag people are born free and equal, he said. Issues between the tribe and colonists eventually came to a head in 1833 when white settlers began cutting down trees in Mashpee woodland areas. Wampanoag people saw them and began overturning their carts and drove them away. They were saying, "You can't take our land," said Guarasio. They were defending what was legitimately theirs. Fearing further insurrection, the legislature granted the tribe the right of self-government in 1834, said Guarasio. Each tour begins at the town's archive building and continues to the community park's Veterans War Memorial, the Liberty Tree, the one-room schoolhouse, the park's memorial garden, and the pavilion. During the June 1st one-hour tour, Guarasio talked about the nearby corner store, the Amos House, regarded as the second oldest house in town with ties to the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. 12 acres, an important cultural site given to the tribe. The historical Collins Lot, open space near Great Neck Road North and Route 130, and an old-school fishing and hunting lodge called the Adequin Hotel. As visitors entered the one-room schoolhouse in Mashpee Community Park, Guerrasio rang a large old-fashioned bell at the front door. The schoolhouse, he said, is the crown jewel of the park. The youngest children would have sat in front, the older students in back, said Guerrasio during the tour, which was filmed on Mashpee TV on June 1st. The schoolhouse mostly served Wampanoag students. About a dozen people took the first tour, according to Mashpee Archives clerk Ann Graham. People loved the tour. They were very enthusiastic about it, said Graham in a June 4th telephone call. Pedro shares a wealth of information, and people really connect to the history of Mashpee. Tours are free and open to the public. As Guerrasio guided tour participants through the Memorial Garden and the community park's Veterans War Memorial, he spoke about the sons and daughters of Mashpee who fought in various wars in the various branches of the armed forces. The Memorial Garden, he said, is a spot for quiet reflection that he said he loves. It serves residents of Mashpee that made the ultimate sacrifice, said Guerrasio. A lot of family names continue to come up here and at the War Memorial. One of Guerrasio's favorite spots on the tour is the one-room schoolhouse, which was built in 1831. The structure, which features restored school desks, feather fountain pens, and small handheld chalkboards, was originally located at the corner of Red Brook and Great Neck Road. It would have been known as the South School, said Guerrasio. In 1900, the town decided it wasn't big enough. They bought another school building from Sandwich, and that building still stands today as a private family residence. The schoolhouse in 1901 was sold to the Baptist Youth Society and was renamed Aquay Chapel and Schoolhouse, said Guerrasio. At that time, a fireplace, a mudroom, and another entrance to the building was added, he said. Before the building was donated to the town in 1975, it was also held on the grounds of New Seabury for between 30 to 40 years, where it was used to house fertilizers for the area's golf course. In 2003, the building was restored, and it eventually made its way to the community park. Most of what you see here is original, except for the floor, said Guerrasio. The floors had to be replaced. They searched high and low and replaced the floor with wood from buildings from the 1800s. As Guerrasio ended the tour, he encouraged people to come back to the community park at their leisure. The pavilion, which was dedicated in 2015, he said, is a great spot for all to enjoy. Grab a paper, grab a chair, and some coffee, he said. It's a wonderful place to sit. There are 3 obituaries in today's Cape Cod Times, dated June 8th of 2026. The first is of Daniel M. Creedon, Jr. of West Yarmouth. Dan Creedon, beloved husband of Elizabeth Michael, passed away December 4th, 2025 at the Cape Cod Hospital after suffering a coronary attack. He is survived by and will be greatly missed by his children, many other family, and friends. A celebration of Dan's life will be held on June 13th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Sagamore Inn, 1131 South Sandwich Road, number 6A in Sagamore, Mass. The next obituary is of David Newman, who passed peacefully on June 2nd in Bethel, Vermont, with his wife Diane and his daughter Kimberly at his side. David was born August 3, 1950 in Sandwich. He attended the Henry Wing School, graduating in 1968. He excelled in mechanical drawing, woodworking, and metalwork. He was also a standout soccer player. Early in his high school years, he had to choose between soccer and hunting in Vermont with his father and his brother in the fall. He chose hunting. It was a good choice. David loved his time in the field or on a pond fishing. He was a crack shot with either a gun or a bow and arrow. David could master any pursuit that he put his mind to: carpentry, cabinet work, finish painting, and running a stone crusher, to name just a few. He worked at these trades on Cape Cod until he moved to Vermont in the late 1990s. He settled down in the family hunting camp. It was in Vermont that he found his calling. He became a master cabinet maker. He was sought out to make cabinets for high-end houses being built in New England and Europe. David is survived by his wife Diane, his brother Dennis, and many family and friends. No services are noted. The final obituary is of Joshua C. Edelson of Hyannis, a resident of Living Independently Forever, who died peacefully at the age of 58 on May 28th after a long and courageous battle. Josh was an inspiration, a gentle soul filled with joy, enthusiasm, playfulness, and compassion. His laugh and his smile were infectious, and his hugs were epic. Family and friends were everything to him, as was his wonderful community in Hyannis at Living Independently Forever, Life, which he called home for 33 years. Josh loved to dance the night away, participate in Special Olympics, root for the New York Giants and Cotuit Cavaliers, and cheer on his favorite professional wrestling grapplers. He is survived by many family and friends. Josh's family requests gifts in his memory be made to the Josh Edelson Lifelong Living and Aging Fund at lifecapecod.org/donate in memory of Josh Edelson at Life. We will always smile and feel grateful when remembering Josh. May his memory be a blessing to all who were lucky enough to be part of his life. And that concludes the obituaries and death notices that are published in today's Cape Cod Times. And we'll close with a little bit of sports. Dynamic Dolphin. Leadoff hitter and shortstop Rondina continues to ignite the Dennis Yarmouth offense. High school baseball playoffs, Division IV, Elite 8. Dennis Yarmouth 5, Rockland 0 by Adam Kirkjian. If you go through all the big innings the Dennis Yarmouth High baseball team has had this season, many of them start with the same bat. That's one of the leadoff hitter, shortstop, and all-around spark plug Ben Rondina. In Saturday's Division IV Elite 8 game against number 6 Rockland, the number 3 Dolphins received huge contributions from Rondina in a 5-zip Dolphins victory. Led off with base hits in each of the 2-run first inning and 3-run second inning. He went 3 for 4 with 2 runs and a double. Nothing about Rondina's performance was out of the ordinary, as he batted over .500 for the season. He also played dependable defense with 2 assists in the 4th inning. Rondina loves the ability to make plays for his team, which extended its season to the Final Four after losing in the Elite 8 by 1 run in each of the previous 2 seasons. Many of his best at-bats have come with Rondina swinging on the first pitch. That was true Saturday as Rondina crushed a double to right center as the first offering from the Rockland pitcher. Rondina was excited and gestured to his dugout as they cheered on. DY's offense rode that wave of emotion, and Rondina likes getting his team going. As a leadoff, you got to set the tone for the game to just get the energy up. I think that's the perfect way to do it. Congratulations to moving on to the Final Four. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Cape Cod Times for today. We read you all the local news. Today, Monday, June 8th of 2026. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.